from the Social Services Cluster, specifically the Minister of Basic Education and the Minister of Higher Education, Science and Innovation. Further, I'd like to make the following brief remarks. That the time for reply by ministers to a question is 5 minutes. This is very, very important. That the time allocated is 5 minutes for reply by ministers. That only 4 supplementary questions are allowed per question. That a member who has asked the initial question would be the first to be afforded an opportunity to ask a supplementary question. That the time for asking a supplementary question is 2 minutes, and that the time for reply to a supplementary question is 4 minutes. And finally, and that the supplementary question must emanate from the initial question. Having done so, I will now proceed and call on the Minister of Basic Education to respond to question 116 asked by Honorable Ndongeni. Once again, a reminder, 5 minutes for response to question. Now, question 116 is a question on adult basic education. This question is from Honorable Ndongeni from the Eastern Cape, Eastern Cape. And this question is directed to the Minister of Basic Education. So, Honorable Minister. Yes. Sorry, just indicate that is the Deputy Minister. So, Honorable Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much, Chairperson of the National Council of Provinces. And greetings to members, greetings to everyone in this meeting. The question 116 from Honorable Ndongeni says whether, as the Minister of Basic Education, on adult basic education, whether with reference to survey report by Statistics South Africa and other non-governmental details furnished, there are any programs with community-based organization and or NGOs that are in partnership with her department in the rollout of adult basic education, and what programs and what is the funding policy in the department, in her department, for the community-based organization and NGOs. Chairperson, if we can all recall, since 2009, the Department of Education was split into two, into the Department of Higher Education and the Department of Basic Education. Then basic education remained with the basic education from, I will say now, from 0 to plus 18, 17, to matric, grade 12. So the higher education part of ABET, adult basic education, moved to the Department of Higher Education. I believe that, yes, when it was still with the Department of Education, we did have NGOs and funding model, but now there is no funding model, no funding whatsoever. It would constitute an unfunded mandate to continue with this task because now it belongs to higher education. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Honorable Ndongeni, follow-up question.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon. Honorable Minister, based on the monitoring and evaluation by the department, what are the general challenges faced by the provinces in terms of the management of the transition of the ECD from social development to the Department of Basic Education? The second question How has the national department assist the provinces in this regard? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Deputy Minister?
Thank you, Chair. The original question was about adult basic education. Now the follow-up is on early childhood development, but I would respond by saying we are working as a sector. The sector constitutes even the provinces. So the migration of
Honorable Labuschagne.
Thank you very much. Minister, we're back to the adult education. Minister, 10.7% of females and 9.3% of males in this country cannot read for understanding, and this makes it very difficult for our people to access jobs and government services, and etc. Reading and writing is a basic requirement for most jobs, and so the failure by your department is harming people's chances of creating a better life for themselves and their families. Minister, you have clearly failed to make an enabling environment to address the imbalances of the past. Will you step aside and make place for the DA to do a better job on this one?
Deputy Minister.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for the follow-up question. Reading and writing it's a basic skill. You cannot distinguish or separate education from reading and writing. That is the basic. When we speak education, we speak reading and writing. Whether you go to university, wherever you go, you must be able to read and write. So that's our core business. Whether it's DA that comes in or any other political party that comes in, that will remain the core business, reading and writing. And we have programs that talks to reading and writing as a department and as a sector in general. That's why we even allocate times in all the schools in the morning after the research results indicated that some of the learners at the age of 10 are unable to read with meaning. They read, but they don't read with meaning. That's what now we are focusing. And we're not working alone. We're working with NGOs and CPOs and all, including the presidency, when he encourages people of South Africa to be a reading nation. So indeed, we are prioritizing reading and writing as a department. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. We'll then proceed to the EFF, Mletsane.
Thank you. Chairperson of the NCOP is Mokause.
Oh, Mkause, okay. Please proceed.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chair, the minister has in the past viewed criticism made by community-based organization, non-governmental organizations operating in South Africa and specialists in education as anti-South African government. And in that dismissive approach by the South African government, the minister missed out on progressive guidance on and collaborative efforts on many issues pertaining to adult and basic education. Have relations between these important bodies and your ministry been mandated a minister? If so, has the minister also collaborated with those organizations which are deemed critiques of the ruling party? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Deputy Minister.
Thank you so much, Chair. As the Department of Basic Education, we are open for criticisms, whether negative or positive. And even if they are negative, the criticisms, we turn them to be positive, because you can't just criticize without a basis. So we believe in the notion that there is no smoke without fire. So we search around us, what are the basis for these criticisms? So as the Department of Basic Education, like I indicated earlier on, that adult basic education lies with the Department of Higher Education as things, since 2019, it's more than 22 years now that adult basic education was moved from the Department of Education. But on the basic education itself, we work with all stakeholders. We work with civil society. We hold quarterly meetings with all civil society. We are using National Education Development Trust to bring all of them together under one umbrella. We consult them, we listen to them, and they guide us also, like we take guidance even from the Select Committee and the NCOP. Thank you, Chair.
No, thank you very much. We'll now proceed to a supplementary question from the IFP. Honorable Hadebe.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson of the NCOP, Honorable Deputy Minister. Considering the very inconsistent commitment in terms of funding sources for the AET programs by the external funders, which has affected the effectiveness of the program, what has the department done to ensure that the program has its own sufficient funding to ensure that the rollout of the program is as effective as it should be? Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honorable Hadebe. We will now move on to, okay, Deputy Minister.
Thank you, Chairperson. I will go back to the initial response that adult basic education is with the Department of Higher Education. So we would not have any funding model as things stand, because whatever we do on adult basic education, it would be an unfunded mandate. So we are not working, we don't have stakeholders that are working with the Department of Basic Education on any provision of adult basic education. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Deputy Minister. We'll now proceed to question 119. This question is a question on progress with the SAFE, SAFE, and or ASIDI, ASIDI program project. Progress with SAFE and ASIDI program project. This question is from Honorable Christian, DA in Northern Cape, and is directed to the Minister of Basic Education. Deputy Minister, question 119.
Thank you so much, Chairperson of the NCOP. You'll recall that the program of ASIDI started a bit longer, but in 2018, we were given resources to implement sanitation appropriate for education, which we termed it SAFE. And at that time, we identified more than 3,000 schools that were using pit latrines, and we had a 3,000 project. But when we started to implement the project, we were not implementing alone. There were other private sector that would donate, and they were working together. But the one that is implemented by infrastructure in the Department of Basic Education, we implemented 2,349 schools have been provided with sanitation through the SAFE program. So 310 new schools have been built, and 1,249 schools provided with water facility, and 46 schools were provided with sanitation facilities, and 372 schools provided with electricity through ASIDI. So the 13.2 billion has been spent on infrastructure backlog at schools since 2011 to date. That's why when I answer this question, I started with the ASIDI, because the question is focusing on safe. So it will be not correct to say the 17 billion was spent on safe. The entire total was spent on both ASIDI and safe. And the total spent now is 13.2 billion on both safe and ASIDI. Thank you, Chair.
No, thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Honorable Christian, first supplementary question.
Thank you, Chairperson. Deputy Minister, it has recently been reported that deadlines to resolve school infrastructure backlog have been removed from the latest Gazette. Minister, please just give us a yes or no answer. Have the toilets been eradicated in schools? And if not, how serious is your department about doing so? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Christian. Honorable Deputy Minister.
It's very difficult to answer this question because I've been given a choice to say yes or no. So whether I say yes or I say no, I don't find myself having a reply to this question. But Chairperson, the deadline, yes, we'll say it has resolved because we can't lie to the nation to say on this date we shall have eradicated all pit latrines, because this is a moving target. Just like when we visit areas, you find mushrooming communities where we sometimes offer schools using mobile classrooms. So those things will be there. But where, like in the case of the 3,000 schools that I mentioned when we started with SAFE, that one come end of March 2023, we shall have eradicated all those schools that were brought to our attention at that time. But there are some schools that will be coming, especially you find that a school has been given waterborne toilets and the community does not have water. And when we try to drill boreholes, there's no water on the water table. So it becomes so difficult. So the school sometimes will provide itself with pit latrines to address those toilets that are not user-friendly because they are waterborne toilets of the school. Thank you, Chair.
No, thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Minister. The second supplementary question comes from the ANC, Honorable Nsube.
Thanks, Chairperson. With utmost respect, Chair, I would please ask you not to switch on my video due to the network problems.
Please proceed.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Honorable Deputy Minister, what are the specific challenges faced by rural province in relation to the rollout of water, sanitation, and infrastructure to schools? And how is the national department assisting such provinces? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Minister.
Thank you, Chair. When we speak about the SAFE projects, the provinces that are benefiting and Limpopo. And to us as a sector, we see these three provinces as the most rural provinces. Not to say that we're not working with other provinces. On a smaller pockets, we do work with Northwest, Mpumalanga, Free State, and other provinces. So we are more of the rural provinces than the urban provinces. That's how we assist in the sanitation appropriate for education. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. We'll proceed to the third supplementary question from the FF+. Honorable De Bruin.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Deputy Minister, in September this year, or rather last month, a 7-year-old scholar in the Free State had died at school after his head got stuck in a window of a portable toilet, in which he was trapped because the door could not open from the inside. Deputy Minister, I would like to know how many cases of injury or death was reported over the last 3 years, or similar cases at schools across the country, and that was as a result of the lack or the substandard infrastructure, and who is being accountable for these injuries and losses of life. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Brain. Deputy Minister.
Thank you, Chairperson. Issues of learners getting injured on pit latrines or whatever, or in the premises of schools, are issues that will call upon the media into that space. So it attracts everybody. It cannot happen that a child may get into a pit latrine without anyone, all of us in the country, having noticed. So we remember we had the Komapi story, and we all know about that Komapi story, and the same as the issue in the Free State. And in the Free State, yes, I remember when it came to surface, we were told that the child fell into a pit latrine. But when we went to the province to check exactly what happened, the children were playing on those mobile sanitation facilities. Then as they were playing, then one child got injured. Like in any event, children, they will get injured if not monitored. So in this case, it has nothing to do with the situation of the facility. The facility is intact and it's good. It's just that learners got injured when one learner got injured when they were playing with friends. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. The fourth supplementary questions come from the EFF. Honorable Arnold.
Thank you, Chairperson of the Council, it's Mukausi. Minister, under normal circumstances where whether is a temporary facility or whichever facility is erected at the school, safety must be a priority. And for you to come and answer here that the children were playing, it's completely out of line, because your department should have made sure that safety is at the center of every facility. Now, the issue of lack of infrastructure in schools, Minister, remains unaddressed in many parts of the country. Which precautionary measures have been put in place to ensure that the budgeted 17.5 billion rand is not looted or squandered by the ruling party at the expense of the children in the Northwest Province, Mpumalanga, Free State, KwaZulu-Natal, and the Eastern Cape Province, who are subjected to indignity by the ruling party at the premises of government schools? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Minister.
Thank you, Chair. Safety of the learners and safety of our educators, our teachers, is a priority. That's why even as the SGPs, there is a subcommittee that is called Safety Committee of a School that looks at the safety of learners and teachers on a day-to-day basis. I'm not saying that learners, when they play, they should just get injured, because if that was the case, would be receiving reports that learners are injured on a daily basis in our schools. The fact that that one report that we got from Free State tells that it doesn't happen to all provinces and all schools, that every day there's a child that is getting injured. So lack of infrastructure throughout the country, Chair, I may not agree 100% with that statement, because we do have school infrastructure. Operationalized by structures that were built, communities, structures that were put by mobile classrooms, and every province in our budget, we do have a plan to address those facilities, to say this year we are going to build this. The 17.5 billion is a combination of ASIDI and SAFE. And ASIDI, there are so many schools that have been handed over to communities being built by that ASIDI. So I don't know. Yes, it's not enough, but we are addressing these challenges on a daily basis. Thank you, Chair.
No, thank you very much. We'll now proceed to the next question. This question is question number 117. 117 is a question on debts owed to municipalities. This question is from Honorable Eman Gillian, and is to the Minister of Basic Education. Deputy Minister.
Thank you, Chairperson of the Council. Yes, there are many schools that are owing municipalities. The reason we've been in constant engagements with SALGA, COCTA, and even NER to check as to how schools are built. Schools are built like businesses that are making profit, yet schools are not generating any profit. They are just community centers to provide education to learners. So this is a matter that is ongoing. We are engaging, but we did consult provinces to check exactly how much are they owing municipalities and ESCOM. Only 3 provinces, Chair, as I'm here, that have given us the numbers. Eastern Cape, they gave us a number of 403 schools that are owing to the amount of 29.6 million. Number 2 is Gauteng with 210 schools amounting to 49.1 million. Western Cape, they are owing about 53.7 million. So we spoke with the provinces to say, can they please help their schools? So the province of Gauteng told us that they've already paid 20.1 million on behalf of all the Section 21 schools that were unable to meet their debt obligation. So partial Section 21 schools are paid for by the Gauteng Department of Education, and their accounts now, all the Section 21 of Gauteng are up to date. So the remainder of the debt, especially those that do not fall within the category of Section 21, the department says they are engaging the schools to make sure that they pay. So the Western Cape Education Department said that the debt balance older than 60 days, currently amounting to 16.9 million, is closely monitored. And they say they are monitoring their schools because they say their schools can pay. So we are going to go back to them to get reports. So the others, in other provinces, schools buy directly from ESCOM, so they may not owe municipalities, especially schools in the rural areas. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Minister. The first supplementary question will come from Honorable Gillian. Honorable Gillian.
Thank you, Chairperson, and thank you, DM, for that answer on the question. I think it is still a worrying factor, and that's why my follow-up question, DM, is as follows. Is there a policy or a regulation that ensures that schools do pay their municipal accounts? And if not, why not? And if so, what are the relevant details? Thank you, DM.
Thank you very much, Honorable Gillian. Honorable Deputy Minister.
Thank you, Chairperson. It should not be a matter of policy necessarily. It's a matter of people paying services. The Section 21 schools, when we give them the paper budget, there is an inclusion of government services, water and electricity. So what we need to do, but we want to appreciate that Honorable Gillian is talking about policy, that we check if provinces do have such policies that will enforce schools to pay, because they have budget, they get budget from the provincial government and that budget, like I indicated, it has that tag of paying government services. So they must pay. Why schools in rural areas, they are able to buy electricity from ESCOM, because most of them, they are they use prepaid, so they do pay. And there's no school when there is electricity when you can pass by and find that that school is dark. So we will find a way of ensuring that all our schools do pay. But notwithstanding the fact that I indicated that really the billing is too high. They bill a school just like your Pick and Pay, your whatever business. So we are engaging with COGTA and SALGA with this regard. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. The second supplementary question comes from the IFP. Honorable Hadebe.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson, Honorable Deputy Minister. Considering that quality education is one of the country's most vital tools in eradicating inequality and potential economic growth, what is the department doing to ensure that the debt servicing of these provincial departments to municipalities does not continue to compromise the already declining quality of education and capacity, and more so the budget allocated to schools in these municipalities? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Minister.
Thank you, Chairperson. We are encouraging schools to pay. And municipalities sometimes, especially when it is towards the writing of the final examinations, they put threats of switching off electricity to our schools. That's why the provinces are paying on behalf of the schools. Even myself, when I was still in the province, I remember very well that we paid for all the schools so that there can be no school which electricity gets cut because of non-payment. And the municipalities also should not suffer because they buy this electricity from ESCOM and they sell to its users, which part are schools. And schools must also do likewise. Homes are paying to municipalities. And we are engaging where schools are paying directly to ESCOM. I said most of such schools where they are on prepaid, they don't owe, and there's no cut of electricity, and there's no disturbing of quality education in those schools. And it does not even affect the economic growth of our country, because ESCOM or municipality will get what is due to him, and our children will get quality education, because we need electricity for our children to get quality education. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. We'll now proceed to the third supplementary question from the EFF. Honorable Arnold.
Thank you, House Chairperson. With regard to the implementation of harsh measures by municipalities of disconnecting water at schools to recover outstanding debt, Deputy Minister, why should school children suffer due to departments not paying for services?
No, thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Minister.
Chairperson, thank you for the follow-up question by Honorable Arnold. Chair, it will be a one school out of 100 or 1,000 schools that will get cut. But it has never happened that electricity or water will be cut to a school for a period exceeding a week. It has never happened. We're always on alert on such matters. And we always work with provinces to make sure that in the event a school is owing, and before municipality cuts electricity, they inform us. So before they could cut, we have already intervened. So I don't remember, unless members have instances where they know that this school is going without water because the municipality has cut. Municipalities, they don't just cut, they inform us prior and we intervene. Then we'll deal with our own in-house issues after we've intervened with the municipalities. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Deputy Minister. The fourth supplementary question comes from the DA, Honorable Christian.
Thank you, Chairperson. Deputy Minister, there have been reports of water and electricity cuts at schools, owing municipality millions of rands due to, amongst others, dwindling school fee payments. This situation is aggravated by schools currently being ranked quintile 5, meaning that they receive drastically reduced funding from the Department of Education, despite the school population profile showing that learners come from severely disadvantaged socioeconomic backgrounds. Minister, there has been repeated calls for the Department of Education to review the quintile system in order to assist impoverished and indebted schools. What is the date of finalization on reviewing the quintile system at schools? And when will the Select Committee receive the finalized report on the review of the quintile system? Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much. Deputy Minister.
Thank you, Chair. I don't think I must give an answer to this question. I want to promise a member that we will submit a written response to that one. But what I know about the quintiling of schools, especially quintile 4 and 5, when we're still quintiling the schools, because now they are there, the schools, when we wanted to, maybe it's operating within an area that more of the school population is underprivileged. And when we want to quintile the school to take it downwards, the SGB refuses, saying that they want parents to pay school fees. And they will say they have agreed with parents, they don't want to go down. So in the event parents are paying, so the amount the government is paying to those schools, is giving to those schools, will never be equal to those which are classified as no-fee school, because most of the parents living there are unemployed. And if they are employed, they get something below the living wage. So really, our communities in South Africa are not the same. And yes, our budget is pro-poor, but at the same time, we do subsidize those schools. And if there are learners whose parents are not working and they report the matter, they get exempted and we pay. The challenge, Chairperson, which those parents, especially the school governing body, would not want us to bring them to Section 21, is because they want fees to be paid on a monthly basis. So with the department, we give them trenches per quarter. We give them 4 times a year, not on a monthly basis. Thank you, Chair.
No, thank you very much, Deputy Minister. We now move on to question 111, question 111. And the question is on increasing illiteracy among learners. Increasing illiteracy among learners. This question is from SF Detroit, and it's to the Minister of Basic Education. Honorable Minister, Deputy Minister.
Thank you, Chairperson. The Department of Basic Education is implementing the Integrated National Reading Sector Plan across the 9 provincial education departments. The provincial departments report to the department twice in a financial year on the progress made in the implementing activities in the school that support reading. So the provinces have already submitted Mr. One reports on the implementation of activities to improve literacy and numeracy. So the department, provincial department, have also developed reading strategies which outline how literacy levels will be addressed in improving the early grades of the foundation phase. The improvement in reading with meaning is part of the DBE's annual performance plan. It is in the APP now as we speak, and it is monitored by the departmental officials on a regular basis. And we account even to the select committee as well as the portfolio committee in the National Assembly. So the department, in collaboration with languages curriculum officials in provinces and districts, they finalized the guidelines for teachers on reading methodologies. So on the recovery of annual teaching plans for language, provide guidance on the teaching and assessment of reading. The department is working with the NECT, the National Education Collaboration Trust, to prepare for the implementation of home language structured learning programs in the foundation phase in quintiles 1 to 3 schools. These SLPs consist of a variety of resources such as readers, big books, phonics programs, which will help improve literacy. With the loss of teaching time during COVID-19 pandemic, the curriculum, Chair, was trimmed to focus on core content areas. This, however, did not entail trimming any of the reading and writing, like I indicated earlier on, that reading and writing is the core of education. So the department is addressing the overcrowding in classroom by building additional classrooms and appointing more teachers. Yes, sometimes building a classroom takes longer. Then we get mobile classrooms, which is we're no longer promoting. Now we are promoting the construction of classrooms to add to the schools. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Deputy Minister. The first supplementary question will come from Honorable Detroit. Honorable Detroit.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Thank you, Deputy Minister, for the answer. Although the answers speak to what will or might happen in future with regards to engagements that is currently taking place for something that might happen. Deputy Minister, according to an article by IOL that was published on the 8th of September 2022, it indicated that 8 out of 10 grade 4 learners in South Africa can't read or write for meaning. It's a recent article. According to the Southern East African Consortium for Monitoring Education Quality, the teacher-learner ratio, as well as the classroom size, has a definite impact on learning standards of learners. Minister, when and how will this issue be addressed to ensure that learners receive decent education instead of only access to education, to ensure that illiteracy is eradicated and children are given the opportunity to read and write for meaning? We want action, Deputy Minister, not only plans on a yearly basis. Thank you, Chair.
No, thank you very much. Deputy Minister.
Thank you, Chair. My answer started by saying the Department of Basic Education is implementing. I never said the department will implement. I said the department is implementing the integrated national reading sector plan across the 9 provinces. That's what I said. And it's not futuristic, it's what is currently happening. And even last 2 weeks ago, I was in the Eastern Cape to launch the reading program, because that study, the SACMEC study that was done, is not September this year. It is a result of the previous years. And we chose to participate in the study, and it told us then that 8 over 10 of the grade 4 learners or age 10 are unable to, they are able to read, but not reading with understanding. You can recall, Chair, even in the State of the Nation address, the president indicated this matter. He got it from the Department of Basic Education. And that's why the president himself came up with a reading strategy. And now this is what we are implementing. Reading, reading, reading for meaning. And now, because we're still participating, we'll see the results are much better than they were in the previous years. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, thank you very, very much. We'll now proceed to the second supplementary question. from the DA, Honorable Bacher.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chair, maybe let me take Honorable Dutoit's question a bit backwards so that we understand that this has been a long sitting problem that is not resolved. Long before COVID-19, illiteracy among learners was a crisis as reported in 2016 that South Africa was placed last out of 50 countries in terms of reading, comprehension, and literacy. The truth is that the current educational system is failing our children. Has the department determined why this continues to remain a crisis 26 years after democracy? Does the department have any evidence of data that provides the indicators or reasons literacy among learners remains in crisis? And if not, shouldn't it be a priority for the department to determine those indicators? Thank you, Chair.
No, thank you very much. Honorable Deputy Minister.
Chair, with honor and respect, I didn't hear the first part of the question because there was a technical glitch. I just saw everything frozen, not on my side. I don't know what happened because my network is constant and consistent. Can the honorable member, with due respect, check, come again?
Now I'll ask the honorable member, Honorable Bacher, to repeat the question.
Yes, that's round two. DM, long before COVID-19, illiteracy amongst learners was a crisis, as reported in 2016 that South Africa was placed last out of 50 countries in terms of reading comprehension and literacy. The truth is that current education system is failing our children. Has the department determined why this continues to remain a crisis 26 years after democracy? Does the department have any evidence of data that provides the indicators or reasons literacy among learners remain in crisis? And if not, shouldn't it be a priority for the department to determine those indicators? I hope I'm clear now.
Yes, let's hope so. Deputy Minister.
It's very clear. Chair, I don't know where does the 26 years of democracy come from, because most of the people that are sitting there, those that are in the NCOP, National Assembly, are a product of education system of South Africa. And if we can just go back to stats, we don't want to go back then to say how many learners would reach matric before democracy. If we don't really appreciate that the system is growing, I don't know what we'll ever appreciate as South Africans. And these studies, Chair, are indicated that there's no law that pushes the department to go and benchmark.
Chair, on a point of order.
Yeah, what is the point of order?
Chair, can I ask the minister a question, please? Will she take a question?
Can you just repeat the question?
Can the minister just answer the question and say she doesn't know what she's talking about, and answer except if making a political speech and telling us what we should ask and not ask?
Honorable, you know yourself that that's not the point of order. Deputy Minister, please proceed.
I proceed, Chair, because I'm in this department and I was there even before democracy. I was a teacher since 1980. I know what was happening before democracy, and I know what is happening now in democracy. So if we want to argue political statements, education and politics are two different things. We are speaking education of the children of South Africa, and we are making sure as the system that the children of South Africa get best education in the whole world. That's why our children are competent everywhere they are taken in the whole world. There's nowhere where we've seen children from South Africa having been returned because they cannot comprehend. The issue of reading and learning is the program of the Department of Basic Education and its provinces. And we are prioritizing that, as Honorable Bacher asked. Honorable Bacher, we are prioritizing reading and learning, reading for meaning, reading with understanding, reading with comprehension. That's what we are prioritizing. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll proceed to the third supplementary question from the EFF, Honorable Leahy.
Thank you, Chairperson. Minister, which intervention has the minister put in place to ensure that those learners who drop out of school as a result of literacy challenges faced are reintegrated back into system, as many of them do not return back to school? Kalabo.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Minister.
Thank you, Chair. The dropout is not as a result, only as a result of reading or writing. There are so many contributing factors to learner dropout, but we have programs. In the past, we used to have a program that is called Banga, and now we have a second chance for those learners who will still want to obtain matric, grade 12, to be given an opportunity. And we have institutions where they are taught and assisted by teachers. So we are helping them. We don't want, every child in South Africa is an asset. So all children, regardless of their status, they are an asset in South Africa, and we have a responsibility to mold them to reach their responsible adulthood. So the two programs I've mentioned is what we are doing. We are also working with higher education, that those who have passed grade 9, we channel them to TVET colleges. That's what we are doing, and other higher education institutions for skills development. Thank you, Chair.
No, thank you very much, Deputy Minister. The last supplementary question will come from the ANC, Honorable Nchabeleng, and I will then hand over to Honorable Ngwenya to chair the next question. Honorable Nchabeleng.
Thanks, Honorable Chairperson, and thanks for the Minister for always being there when we need her. I just want to check, is there any policy to redirect and integrate some learners who fails matric without any hope of future success to the adult basic education or technical vocational education and training streams to enhance their future prospects of employment? If there is such a policy, will you give us the details of what that policy says, Honorable DM? Thank you very much.
Honorable Deputy Minister.
Thank you so much, Chair.
Thanks very much, Minister.
Thank you, House Chair. The learners who cannot make it to grade 12, they are automatically redirected to higher education institutions that are developing skills. And also the TVET colleges. There's a tendency now that TVET colleges, learners will think, and some of us, of course, will think that TVET is for those that have matric only. TVET colleges are meant to those that have passed grade 9, so that when they do level 1, 2, and 3, that's when they acquire their matric. So, and other institutions of higher learning, which are under the Department of Higher Education. In the Department of Basic Education, we have established the 3-stream model that we should not bulk our children to go to the academic route to matric, even if their skills are not directing them there. That's what we have now and what we're doing. In all the 9 provinces, that program is running. Yes, it's not yet where it's supposed to be, but we are working on it to guide it. That's why we spoke of general education certificate, that our learners, when they pass grade 9, they must get a general education certificate, which will direct them to their individual careers of interest. That's what is being done. Thank you, Chair.
No, thank you very much. I'll ask Honorable Ngwenya to then take us to the next set of questions. Honorable Ngwenya, are you there?
Yes, Chair. Thank you, Chairperson. I would now like to call the honorable and on the question 120 that have asked by Honorable Matebula. Sorry, Chair.
Icon, what's happening there?
I'm about to.
There's no water in Gauteng. I think people are drinking other things.
No. Honorable Deputy Minister, the question that we are going to answer is question 120 that have been asked by Honorable Christian.
Thank you, Chairperson. The question is why schools are finding it difficult to implement legislation, policies, and programs that are aimed at eradication and education of drug use. Drugs and substance abuse among youth is a nationwide problem, affecting a number of schools and communities. Schools are required to implement the National School Safety Framework, which is a guiding framework that empowers schools to identify security issues and threats such as drug abuse, establish mechanisms such as school safety committees and reporting channels, which include the province and the police where necessary. In this way, schools are capacitated to respond promptly and proactively to any threats or security issues. In addition, schools are also required to implement the national strategy for the prevention and management of alcohol and drug use amongst learners in schools, which empowers them to establish school-based support teams, establish referral systems for learners addicted to drugs, and implement drug testing. Moreover, schools are also required to implement the protocol between the Department of Basic Education and the South African Police Services, which allows all schools to be linked to their local police stations and delegate, a police station will delegate police officers to form part of the school safety committees. School-based searches and seizures of illegal drugs and weapons can be undertaken by the police regularly. And these are the frameworks that we have, which we expect school governing bodies to adhere to this so that we cap the rate of the drug and alcohol abuse by the young ones, because we are looking at them to be responsible citizens in the near future. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks very much, Deputy Minister. I would like to call Honorable MS DC Christian to do the follow-up question.
Thank you, House Chairperson. Thank you, House Chairperson. Deputy Minister, the truth is that all those strategies that the department has in place is not being implemented effectively at schools. So reports are rife that children are becoming drug dealers at schools. It is evident that crime is on the increase at schools with physical attacks and assaults, as well as regular reports of rapes by learners under the influence of substances. With these added threats of young children becoming drug dealers and the knock-on effect of an increase in crime at schools, what is the department doing additionally, seeing that these strategies that the Deputy Minister has mentioned is not working effectively? And additionally, the security especially, how is this being managed at schools? Thank you, House Chairperson.
Thanks very much, Honorable Member, Honorable Deputy Minister.
House Chair, the programs that I mentioned earlier on are informed by the legislation, the South African Schools Act of 1996, the regulations for safety measures at public schools of 2001, and the policy framework for the management of drug abuse by learners in schools in public and further training institutions 2002 to address drug and substance abuse. The Department of Basic Education is not an expert to deal with drugs. That's why I say we work with SAPS. So it's a choice of other schools who will not want to work with SAPS. But the schools that I always visit, there is a police officer attached to that school to deal with issues of drugs and any substance abuse. That one. And on issues of safety and security of the school, there's a school governing body subcommittee, school safety committees are also working with the police station, with the community policing forums, and most of the schools in townships and villages, the entire village, under the leadership of the school governing body, they take it upon themselves. Yes, there are pockets of learners who may continue to do these things. But remember, we have 13 million learners, and it can only be done by 5 learners. Then it becomes a big thing. If we're able to protect 12,995,000 learners, it means something is being done. And we need to commend the SGPs, we need to commend the Department of Social Development, because they work together with the Department of Basic Education. We need to commend the school governing bodies for the good work that they are doing for protecting our children in schools. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks very much, Deputy Minister. The follow-up question is going to ask by Honorable Khatebe.
Thank you, House Chairperson, Honorable Deputy Minister. How effective has the department's national strategy for the prevention and management of alcohol and drug use amongst learners in schools been when it comes to tackling substance abuse in schools? Were all the schools introduced to the strategy? If so, what were integration action plans and the outcome thereof? If not, why not? How consistent was the funding to this strategy nationwide to ensure an enabling environment for learners who have become addicted to alcohol and drugs to access treatment, care, and support services? Thank you, House Chair.
Thanks very much, Honorable Khatebe. Deputy Minister.
Thank you, Chair. As I indicated, this is a collaborative work. It cannot be done by the Department of Basic Education alone. We do it with the Department of Social Development, Department of Justice, Department of Police, and even COCTA. So we are working with provinces. There's a central drug authority. The department strengthened the provincial substance abuse forums, which enable provinces to work with local stakeholders to address the scourge of drugs and substance abuse in communities. And we be aware of reliable referrals, systems for learners addicted to drugs. For example, working with the Department of Social Development, we refer them to rehabilitation centers. But the department, through the interprovincial meetings, encourage provinces to seek funding to address the second part of funding. Funding from other stakeholders, such as multilateral institutions, to assist with the procurement of drug testing devices. Some other provinces, like your Northwest, your Mpumalanga province, have procured these drug testing devices, but they are working together with SAPS. Remember, issues of drugs, issues of all these social ills are emanating from the communities. They don't just start from schools. We always say, and now it becomes a song, that a school is a cosmopolitan of of the community. It replicates what communities are doing. Our children, they emulate what they see happening in communities. So we work together with community leaders. It's not a matter, including members of National Council of Provinces. We need to work together because we cannot put politics in these matters. These are matters of the future of this country where we need to lead our children to be responsible adults. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks very much, Deputy Minister. Now the follow-up question is going to asked by Honorable MSN Ngosi.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you, Honorable House Chair. Honorable Deputy Minister, in the light of the increase of substance abuse by the learners as the broader community societal problem, are there any plans by the department together with other sector departments and communities to increase community awareness about the destructive effects of substance abuse? If not, why not? If yes, what are the relevant details? Thank you very much, Honorable House Chair.
Thanks very much, Honorable Ngosi. Honorable Deputy Minister.
Thank you, Chair. I indicated issues of partnerships. The department works with the Department of Social Development, the Department of Justice, Health, Communications, and Digital Technologies, because there are issues of cyberbullying. We cannot deal with that outside the Department of Digital Technologies and the South African Police Services. On rolling out the interdepartmental campaign on the prevention of violence, bullying, corporal punishment, gender-based violence and femicide, teenage pregnancy, and drug and substance abuse in schools. What I'm talking about is not something that is going to be done. It's something that we are doing. We have been to many provinces and we request even MECs in provinces to take the processes down to districts. I was in the Free State with the MEC for Free State, who has covered all the 4 districts of 5 districts of the Free State, rolling out this awareness and campaign. It doesn't end there as a campaign. It's taken by the districts and the circuits and all the stakeholders who are working with all stakeholders, religious-based organizations and counselors, community leaders. We're working with everybody. When we come to that space and we leave them and say, continue with this good work, we are working with our QLTC, Quality Teaching and Learning structure that is based in the Department of Basic Education, and it has replicated in provinces, districts, and circuit. And this structure is able to bring all community-based organizations to come and work with the Department of Education. We believe that working together will be able to fight this scourge. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks very much, Deputy Minister. The next follow-up question is going to be asked by Honorable A. Arnold. Honorable Arnold.
Thank you, Mangwenya. It's Mukause. Deputy Minister, we have seen a lot of killings at the level of the school due to drugs and alcohol abuse. Bullying being at the center of all these actions due to drugs and alcohol. What other ways do you have as the department to assist learners who get involved in all these actions except expelling them from schools? Are you, Minister, Deputy Minister, in talks with the business like the alcohol outlets, which are trading extremely closer to the schooling community? Do you have police working with the school community, or do they just respond when there are incidents at the schools? Thank you.
Honorable Member Makausi, Deputy Minister.
Thank you, House Chair, and thank you, Honorable Makause. As I was responding to this question, I've touched on all the issues Honorable Makause indicated, that we are, when we say there's a COP, we know that we have more schools than police station. We have more schools than police officers. So in an area, a policing area, we get one police officer, we find that that one police officer is managing about 5 schools in the area. And they are very effective because they work with their own community policing forum. If that police officer is not there to respond immediately, then the community policing member is there in the school. When we visit these schools, we always find these people there. They are working with the school community. And as a department, we also support the Izimbizo spearheaded by SAPS, that when they go there, we encourage even parents to go and learn how to address all the social ills. Chair, I don't want to speak about statistics here because really, but we are winning. On teenage pregnancy, we are winning. On drug abuse, we are winning. We don't expel learners from school. We work with social development, we refer them to rehabilitation, then they come back and we include them in the system. We also work with correctional services where we get inmates to come and address our learners, to tell them not to repeat what they did. And there's one incident in the Northwest where it was really touching, where a good maths learner had to drop out and be arrested, and he has got 2 life sentences. But now he is a teacher of mathematics. He qualified at the prison, now he's a teacher of mathematics, teaching all the other inmates, and they pass with 100%. Then it tells that if we can work together as a community and society, we will win this battle. Thank you, Chair.
Can we take over and chair this session now? Because it looks like the ANC has gone to bed. Can we take over and chair
the
this session?
chairperson, not the ANC, it's the chairperson.
Mabatu amanya. Kalau abuse mangwenya tu. Makabo, relax.
I'm fine.
Mama baby, I hear go.
Okay, she's back. Please proceed, Mangwenya.
Thanks, Chair. Ugesi uhambile ngapha manje kuphazamiseke i-network yami. Ngizocela uhlale ungigadile-ke. Deputy Minister, sorry for that. Akusi intando yami, intando kagesi. Sinesipho sikagesi eSouth Africa. Deputy Minister, we're on 118.
Guess your ANC.
Deputy Minister, we are on 118 question that have asked by Honorable Nchabeling.
Thank you, House Chair. Thank you, House Chair. The question says, what is the main aim of the Second Chance Matric program? How successful is the program in reaching its objective, and what role the program plays in increasing learner retention? The answer to the question is the main aim of the Second Chance Matric program is to offer young people who had failed to meet the requirements of the National Senior Certificate and or Senior Certificate examinations, as well as those who wish to upgrade or improve the NSC or senior certificate examination results, a second chance to obtain a qualification, thereby improving their quality of life and their life chances. The program offers face-to-face support, online support, and wide range of learning support material. The program facilitates the development of learner and teaching support material that is based on diagnostic reports in order to ensure that the support material focus on common areas of poor performance emanating from previous examinations. The LTSM are governed or owned, printed, and government-owned, printed, and distributed to learners at no cost whatsoever. Since the inception, the program has supported more than 400,000 learners to pass the outstanding subjects or subjects towards achieving a national senior certificate or just a senior certificate. The program has facilitated the development of the Mind the Gap study guides for home language, high enrolled FET subjects, South African Sign Language, 14 vocational subjects, low enrollment subjects, and vocationally oriented subjects. The program chairperson plays an important role in retaining learners beyond the formal schooling program. Learners who are disappointed by their failure or poor performance at the end of their schooling career are able to continue with their studies at their own pace. They are able to register for 1 or 2 or more subjects and write the examination in May, June, or October, November. The face-to-face centers keep learners motivated as they prepare for their examinations. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks very much, DM. Honorable Chabelin.
Yeah, Chairperson, I feel that the minister in her elaborate answers has actually answered the question, the 2 questions I was going to ask. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot, Honorable DM.
Thank you.
Thanks very much, Honorable Chabelin. The next follow-up question is going to ask by MSB Matebula.
Thank you.
Okay, come in.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Deputy Minister, which measures have you put in place to alert students who did not meet the requirement of National Senior Certificate? And what is the success rate of this program, especially in rural areas? Thank you.
Thanks very much, Honorable Member. Honorable Deputy Minister.
Thank you, House Chair, and thank you for the question from Honorable Matebula. We are doing this not at a national level. It's done at a provincial, at a district, circuit, and a school. The school, that's where these learners belong. That's where these learners could not succeed in their grade 12. So the schools have contacts of those learners. So we are working directly with principals of schools and other teachers at a school level. They are the ones. We could not have reached the number 400,000 if this program is not driven on a right direction. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks very much, Deputy Minister. The next follow-up question is going to ask by Honorable De Deutsch.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Honorable Deputy Minister, would you agree that if all South African schools had sufficient qualified education at schools, the dropout rate would be less and less individuals would be taking part in the Second Chance initiative? And also, Deputy Minister, would you agree that if the progression policy that is currently implemented in schools would be altered, rather holding a child back to enable him or her to achieve and to proceed to the next level when they've acquired sufficient qualification for that, it would be better and we wouldn't have so many individuals taking part in the Second Chance Matric program. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks very much, Honorable Member. Deputy Minister.
Thank you, House Chair, and Thank you to Honorable Titoy for the follow-up question. All teachers in the system are qualified. It doesn't matter whether the teacher teaches at a rural area or in urban areas. We have one code that prepares our teachers. They all come from the 20 universities of the Republic of South Africa. There's no university that is training rural teachers and a university that is training urban teachers. All these teachers come from the same pool. So, but the level of comprehension, even ourselves in the NCOP, we are not like horns of a goat or ears of a donkey, that we can just be the same. People are not the same. That's why we use differentiated approach in dealing with the learners, because some comprehend fast, some get it slower, and we are able to accommodate all of them. The progression policy is meant to help the learners, because if you keep the learner for a long time in a particular phase, that learner becomes disgruntled and will not even catch what the teachers are doing. Chair, that is proven that when we give these children a second chance by progressing them to the next grade, they do very well. We have distinctions coming from learners that are progressed. We have bachelors. So every year when we announce results, really, these issues are outlined, that learners who have progressed, they pass, and they pass very well. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks very much, Deputy Minister. Next follow-up question is going to ask by Honorable Gibrain. Ryder, I mean to say, sorry.
Thank you, House Chair. Deputy Minister, this will be the last question that you have to answer today. You may be relieved to hear that. The rest of us are. Deputy Minister, it's been reported that in a portfolio committee meeting in August of 2021 by the Department of Education, that learners with special needs are not accommodated in the second chance matric program due to the lack of resources. Deputy Minister, do you agree that learners with special needs should be accommodated in the second chance matric program? Will they be accommodated in 2023? And has the issue with resources been resolved? Thank you.
Thanks very much, Honorable Member. Deputy Minister.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, that it was reported in August 2021 that learners with special needs are not accommodated on this program. Learners, all learners in South Africa are learners. And learners with special needs, they differ. So we don't put them in one basket to say they're learners with special. There are those who won't even go to matric, but we channel them to skills in our private schools. Then there are those that will opt for matric, and those ones will be given that opportunity. Remember, when we're speaking about the ICT devices, then our partners will just choose any school. But now we said to them, please come to us, let's work together, because we want these tailor-made devices for our learners to go to special schools so that they are not disadvantaged, because they are children like all South African children. They deserve all what the children of South Africa have, and they must have equal opportunities as all South African children that are having. So I don't agree and I don't disagree with this statement. I will further check as to what led to that statement being made, because where I'm sitting, Chair, the children of South Africa, we give them equal opportunities. Thank you. It could not be the last question, because this was a follow-up question number 3. We still have number 4.
Thanks very much, Honorable Minister, for for reminding me. I have jumped Honorable Khatebe. The follow-up question is going to ask by Honorable Khatebe. Honorable Khatebe. Honorable Khatebe. Find that imkhiphile naye. Deputy Minister, it was Honorable Ryder, Deputy Minister. Your first question was asked by Honorable Chabele, and the second one, it was Matebula. The third one was Honorable Detroit, and the fourth one was Honorable Ryder. That's the end of your question, Deputy Minister.
Thank you so much, House Chair.
Because I'm so in network, Mina now. Because I'm so in network. Now I would like to thank you, Deputy Minister, because now I'm going to call the Minister of Higher Education. But thanks very much for you to come and answer the question in NCOP. Thanks very much.
Thank you so much,
Deputy Minister.
Thank you, House Chair, and thank you, members.
Malibongwe Makhaba, malibongwe.
Honorable members, we now are going to go to the questions for the higher education. The first question is going to ask by the minister is question number 113 that have been asked by Honorable Nzube.
Honorable House Chair, thank you very much for the question from Honorable Nzube. I want to indicate that NSFAS has implemented the following internal controls and risk management strategies to avoid the provision of bursaries to non-deserving students by implementing a variety of steps to prevent what we call double dipping. The steps include the following. Determining the financial eligibility of a NSFAS beneficiary by using a combination of the parent, spouse, legal guardian information as confirmed against data received from the Department of Home Affairs and data received from the South African Revenue Service, SARS. Financial eligibility is determined automatically when NSFAS processes a new application, whereas the financial eligibility of continuing students is determined on an ad hoc basis. The academic eligibility of NSFAS beneficiary is determined as follows. For continuing students, compliance in regard to academic eligibility criteria is determined using academic results received from DHT for TVET college students and to the institution at which the students studied for university students. For all new applicants and continuing students, compliance regarding the N+ rule is determined using the HEMIS data for the university N+ rule and NSFAS funding data for the TVET college N+ rule. A review of the financial eligibility of the 2022 continuing students was conducted, and NSFAS found that more than 35,000 students were not financially eligible. The results of this review were presented to the NSFAS board for a decision regarding further steps that needs to be undertaken. A review of the academic eligibility of 2022 provisionally funded students was conducted after the receipt of updated HEMIS data for the 2021 academic year. To date, NSFAS has found that more than 25,000 students have been found to be funding eligible based on the latest HEMIS data. 80% of these students have achieved their undergraduate qualification as per HEMIS. However, I wish to say, Honorable House Chair, academic results that NSFAS received from some institutions do not indicate that these students have achieved their undergraduate qualification. Therefore, the funding of these students has been put on hold, and the result of the review presented to the NSFAS board for a decision regarding further steps that needs to be taken. Thank you very much, Honorable House Chair.
Thanks very much, Honorable Minister. The next follow-up question is going to, the first follow-up question is going to asked by Honorable Ntsubi. Honorable Ntsubi.
Thanks, thank you very much, House Chairperson, the Minister. Minister, in terms of the internal audit by NSFAS, is there any evidence of students benefiting unduly only on the basis of material misrepresentation in the application, or are these cases of material breach of policy by NSFAS officials processing the application? What steps have been taken against officials who might have been found guilty of the breach of this policy? Thank you very much, Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Ntsubi. I wish to say that in terms of the forensic work that has been conducted over the last financial year, we can confirm that evidence of students benefiting unduly only on the basis of material misrepresentation do exist when they apply for NSFAS funding. We mainly receive these reports via our hotline, where individuals with knowledge of these students report cases directly to NSFAS via the Vuvuzela hotline. The 35,000 continuing students that have been identified as financially ineligible were initially found to be financially eligible by declaring that they are self-sufficient. Now that we've found that these students are not eligible, they are no longer being funded. And I wish to say also, in addition, I've asked NSFAS that in instances where they find students or parents guilty of being funded by not telling the truth, they must actually be reported to law enforcement agencies so that action gets taken. From now onwards, we are not only just going to discontinue funding, but we are going to hand them over to law enforcement agencies. And the internal audit and forensic units have not now identified instances where NSFAS officials intentionally breached any funding policy to provide funding to non-qualifying students in the last financial year. Thank you very much, House Chair.
Thanks very much, Minister. The second follow-up question is going to be asked by Honorable Baha.
Thank you, House Chair. Thank you, Minister, for a response. My follow-up question, Minister, is a special investigation unit is to investigate maladministration and fraud at the National Students Financial Aid Scheme. Has recently been announced by the President to recover any financial losses suffered by the state through corruption and negligence at NSFAS. The unit will also investigate related unauthorized, irregular, or fruitless and wasteful expenditure incurred by the NSFAS or the state, including the causes of maladministration, as well as improper conduct by employees of the NSFAS. Minister, NSFAS in its current form is failing dismally. Is it not time to admit that the scheme has failed administratively and that a new model for student fund disbursement needs to be explored? Thank you, House Chair.
Thanks very much, Honorable Member. Honorable Minister.
Thanks to the Honorable Member, Honorable House Chair. I'd first of all like to say, NSFAS has not failed. NSFAS is the success story of this ANC government since it was established. We are will be celebrating 30 years of NSFAS this year, and NSFAS is functioning optimally. It has got challenges, of course, in terms of needing to update its own systems so that it's able to quickly catch students who are actually cheating. But already, by virtue of having picked up 35,000 students who were cheating, it means that NSFAS is indeed functional. Already NSFAS has had a discussion with the SIU. We welcome the investigation by the SIU, and we hope that this investigation by the SIU will also help us to prioritize those who to find and expose those who are actually defrauding NSFAS. The fact that there are these challenges does not deserve that NSFAS should then be regarded as a failure. NSFAS is supporting the children of the working class and the poor in this country, hundreds of thousands of whom are playing a very important role in South African society today. Thank you, House Chair.
Thanks very much, Honorable Minister. The next follow-up question, the third one, is going to ask by Honorable Mletsana.
Thank you, House Chair. Minister, since that the statistics are available of the students who benefited unduly, then surely it means that you know how much money has been spent on them. Can the minister, what is the total amount of the money paid to the students who benefited unduly? Thank you.
Thanks very much, Honorable Member, Honorable Minister.
Thanks, Honorable House Chair. Clearly, this is a new question, which was not implied in the question that was asked. I do not have those figures, but I'm happy to provide an estimate of how much money has it cost us in terms of students who are actually defrauding NSFAS. I did not bring that information because it was not in the original question. Thank you very much, House Chair.
Thanks very much, Honorable Minister. The next follow-up question is going to ask by Honorable De Bruin. Honorable De Bruin.
Thank you, House Chair. Honorable Minister, in addition to the non-deserving students benefiting from NSFAS, it was reported in 2019-2020 that there were a total of 440,000 irregular student records and ghost students. Has any criminal charges been laid against the persons who benefited from these ghost student grants? And how many irregular student records and ghost students has been identified in the last financial year? And what are your department doing to address this fraudulent behavior? Thank you.
Thanks very much, Honorable Member. Honorable Minister.
Honorable House Chair, thanks to Honorable De Bruin. If I understand Honorable De Bruin's question, the 440,000 ghost students that he may be referring to may be the fact that 440,000 students were funded legitimately by NSFAS, but what was not done, which was a matter that was supposed to have been done by our former Director General, was to actually arrange that I do a gazette authorizing such expenditure. That did not happen, and I dealt with that matter. But that money did not go to ghost students. It's money that actually went to legitimate students, except that we didn't do the gazetting, which was a problem. That is why the Auditor General flagged this as wasteful expenditure or unauthorized expenditure, which is something that we subsequently engaged with the AG to explain exactly what we are saying. We have had students who do not deserve to be funded. As I have said, we've discovered 35,000 earlier this year, but these are not 440,000 ghost grants. Thank you very much, Honorable House Chair.
Thanks very much, Honorable Minister. Honorable Minister, we now go to question 121 that you have asked by Honorable Christian. And I would like also to invite Honorable Nyambe to take over. You can continue, Deputy. You can continue, Minister. 121, question 121.
House Chair, we are sharing with the Deputy Minister. Can I hand over this one to be answered by the Deputy Minister, Malama?
No problem.
Thank you.
Honorable Malama.
Yes, I'm here. Thank you, House Chair. Let me try this. Okay. The Higher Health is the implementing arm of the Department of Higher Education and Training that's meant to address gender-based violence and femicide in post-school education and training institutions, which includes universities, TVET colleges, and community colleges. It has put a range of interventions in place to deal with gender-based violence, which includes capacity and skills development training on topics such as gender-based violence and femicide sensitization, procedural guidelines on how to handle sexual and gender-related misconduct on campuses. Since last year, over 7,706 frontline and support staff were trained to support students. The department, in collaboration with Higher Health, has further launched several protocols, minimum standards, checklists, and guidelines to assist institutions to put mechanisms in place for reporting and providing support to survivors. Higher Health has also established a range of services for victims, survivors, and perpetrators across campuses, and these includes prevention mechanisms through a GBV-F risk assessment, self-screening, toolkit for students to identify early risk detection and vulnerabilities to take measures to further assess their needs and provide assistance, a 24-hour PSET toll-free crisis hotline, Future Beats, which is a radio program, clinical care for treatment of physical injury and prevention of pregnancy, HIV, and other sexually transmitted infections, professional psychosocial care offered by counselors and psychologists, and also peer support through gender-based violence and femicide support groups. Higher Health has also launched a core or extramural curriculum on civic education with a full module on gender-based violence and femicide, gender equality, and gender diversity. And it has also is building student champions across all campuses through their peer-to-peer educator networks to reach out to communities, to community members, and support them in understanding gender-based violence and breaking the stigma. Secondly, to say we're successful is not easy. We can still do much more. However, our success is reflected in the following numbers recorded in 2021. 124,964 students were enrolled and capacitated via the Higher Health Gender-Based Violence and Femicide second curriculum. Over 80,500 students and staff have been assessed using the Higher Health Gender-Based Violence and Femicide Risk Assessment Audit and Toolkit. The stigma has been broken, as we have, for the first time since in 2021, seen over 8,600 students reporting gender-based violence and femicide, and have been assisted by Higher Health gender-based violence and femicide support services in the form of clinical psychologists and registered counselors and other support structures. The majority of cases still remain a product of mainly intimate partner violence, domestic violence, and circumstances outside campus communities. However, no tolerance, a no tolerance policy on gender-based violence and femicide on campuses remain imperative, as much as support to all survivors of gender-based violence and femicide remain a pertinent part of all of our interventions. Thank you, House Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Ngwenya. Thank you, Deputy Minister Manamela. The first follow-up question will be asked by Honorable Christian.
Thank you very much, House Chairperson. Deputy Minister, thank you very much for your answer. And thank you very much for your detailed answer on all the policies and processes that have been rolled out. I am concerned about implementation of those policies and processes. Now, to get to my question, Deputy Minister, there have been reports of underreporting on gender-based violence, and I particularly want to go to TVET colleges. The problem stems from unsafe and insufficient housing. as well as young adults moving away from home and not being properly equipped for a life at university. Deputy Minister, no new accommodation facilities have been built for the past 30 years at TVETs. A huge portion of NSFAS bursaries go to student accommodation, yet students are left vulnerable year after year as higher education continues to fail in securing safe and sustainable accommodation for students. What are the budgeted plans in place to build safe accommodation at TVET colleges? Which TVETs have been earmarked, and what are the timelines in order to keep our students safe from gender-based violence? Thank you very much, Deputy Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Christian. Honorable Deputy Minister.
Thank you, House Chair, and to Honorable Christian. I think the first point is that the question of gender-based violence and femicide is not necessarily only the result of students staying off campus. There has been incidents wherein students who stay on campus have been affected by gender-based violence and femicide. The second point is that it also remains the choice of as to where, in some instances, where they want to reside. Some students prefer to stay off campus and to use the accommodation allowance that has been, allocated to them for a whole range of other reasons. Obviously, because of the challenges that we faced with in terms of, student accommodation. The third point is that there's no system in the world that provides 100% student accommodation to all the students who need it. And I think, the case applies as it relates to us, given the challenge in terms of resources and all of that. And lastly, there has been, maybe not lastly, but there has been, a huge investment that has been poured into student accommodation, particularly at TVET college levels. And those, are based on, the need that has been identified at specific colleges, and all of that. And I think our major priority in terms of, TVET college infrastructure has been the expansion of the TVET college sector. In the overall, our intention is to ensure that students, wherever they stay, remain safe, be it in communities or on campuses, because the reality is that whatever happens, campuses are a product of our society, and generally there has been a challenge of gender-based violence, in our society in general, and that I think that's where we really need to, nip the problem on the bud. But I think finally, and which I think we have to acknowledge is the fact that the policies and protocols that have been introduced have been rolled out and implemented in all of our TVET colleges, all of our universities, and most of these institutions have ensured that these policies comply with or are in line with the already existing internal policies intended to strengthen security, intended to build consciousness, intended to also help to assist students to unlearn some of the practices that they come into campuses with, which they've assimilated generally from their communities, so that we ultimately achieve our objective of zero tolerance towards gender-based violence and femicide, zero, in all respect. Thank you, House Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable TM. The second follow-up question is from Honorable Ndongeni.
Thank you, Chair. Honorable Deputy Minister, in terms of the reported cases, how much is the substance abuse contributing to the gender-based violence? And what is the plan of the department in addressing this challenge? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Ndongeni. Honorable TM.
Look, and I think, as I said, that the firstly, we faced with a situation wherein students and generally in our society, we have built the confidence within which those who are victims of gender-based violence and femicide, are now able to speak out. So we're able to a certain extent, understand the gravity, of the problem. Like I said in the initial response, that, more than 8,000 cases have been reported in the year 2021, which may, project this as, a new and huge crisis. But the reality is that we, through our work, advocacy, through training, through the peer-to-peer, engagement, we've somewhat built a momentum where institutions have the confidence femicide. And secondly, we're having a whole range of stakeholders and also partners within government to help us ensure that our campuses, are secure. And we're quite confident that, the policies that we've put in place are beginning to yield the necessary in terms of ensuring that students graduate alive and also students graduate with violence and femicide. Thank you, House Chair.
Thank you, Honorable TM. You have to make sure that your network is proper all the times. The third follow-up question is from Honorable Khatebe, Honorable Pungan on the visual platform.
Thank you, Honorable House Chair, Honorable Minister and Deputy Minister. It was reportedly found that the ministerial task team on GBVF in universities established that not only universities have sufficient means to deal with GBVF. What steps are being taken to capacitate the universities with the resources to adequately deal with the GBVF by the department? Thank you, House Chair.
Thank you, Honorable TM.
Well, this is exactly the one and important resource that we're providing to universities and to TVET colleges and community colleges, which is the establishment of High Health as an agency that has now extended its scope to include dealing with issues of gender-based violence. We provide all institutions, with psychosocial support in instances where these cases exist. We also support them with whatever material that they need to help build, consciousness. The reality is, at the end of the day, institutions with resources allocated from the National Fiscus will have to ensure that in complying with the protocols and policies that we've put in place, they put in resources to ensure that we are able to deal with gender-based violence, so that they build internal capacity in that regard for them to be able to do so. Thank you, House Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable TM. The fourth follow-up question is from Honorable Arnott. Honorable Arnott.
Thank you, House Chairperson. Deputy Minister, gender-based violence is a long-standing issue in institutions of higher learning. Which interventions has the Minister undertaken, if any, against the challenges of underreporting of gender-based violence incidents, which often make it difficult to determine the true prevalence of gender-based violence in institutions?
So,
Honorable TM.
Yeah, so as I said, that we've put in place policies and protocols, and as a result of that, we have imposed an obligation on all institutions to set up structures that will be friendly for anyone on campus who believes that they are victims of gender-based violence. And I think that is why we're beginning to see the rise in terms of the reporting of the number of cases on our campus. This, we are not suggesting that because of the rise in the numbers being, of the number of cases being reported, therefore they may not, they necessarily may not be underreporting. But we think that the rise in terms of numbers signifies the kind of impact that, the kind of interventions and protocols that the higher health, or the minister through higher health, has imposed on these institutions. So we are really beginning to see the results.
Thank you, Honorable DM. We now come to question 114, asked by Honorable Nkosi. Honorable Minister, you'll guide whether it's you or it's Honorable DM Manan Namela. Honorable Minister.
Honorable House Chair, the next two questions will be done by myself, starting with this one. The department started undertaking national cohort studies, including a specific study on NSFAS funded students in the 2016-2017 financial year. Cohort studies are the study of first-time entering undergraduate students who are tracked over a 10-year period to determine the percentage of students that have dropped out from their studies or who have completed their studies. The NSFAS cohort studies considers as any student who received NSFAS funding at any point in time during their studies. The report published in February 2022 covered the year 2000 to 2019 national undergraduate cohort for public higher education institutions. The results were as follows. There was, in terms of the national general cohort rates, the dropout was 32.4%, the throughput was 61.2%. But I'm very pleased to say, Honorable House Chairperson, that NSFAS students, in terms of this cohort rates, the dropout was at 20.8%, much less than the general cohort studies, and the throughput was 71.3%. What this shows is that NSFAS students on average, because of the bursary support, are performing better than non-NSFAS funded students, which is very important in further underlining this government's achievements on this. It should be noted that at least 4 years of data would be required for 3-year qualifications and 5 years of data for 4-year qualifications. The current study underway will be published in March 2023 and include students on the new bursary scheme and provide information on 3-year qualifications, as 4 years of data will be available for the new bursary students from 2018. It should be noted that NSFAS has not conducted any research to date regarding the dropout rate of NSFAS beneficiaries. This has largely to do with aspects of NSFAS policy. Excuse me, Honorable Chair and Honorable Members, which continued funding for all academic years prior to 2022. The artificial dropout as a result of these policies make it extremely difficult to determine whether the student in fact dropped out of their studies or whether the student has continued with their studies as a self-funded student. NSFAS beneficiaries that studied at university as of the 2020 academic year will also be covered, as I say, when we then get the new cohort studies results. Thank you very much, Honorable House Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. First follow-up question is from Honorable Nkosi.
Thank you very much, Honorable House Chair. Honorable Minister, has the survey been conducted to determine the causes of the dropouts? If not, why not? And if yes, what are the relevant details? 2, what are the steps taken by the department to mitigate against the dropout of students who are the beneficiaries of bursaries? Thank you, Honorable House Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Nkosi. Honorable Minister.
Honorable House Chair, I'm not sure of my connectivity. That's why for this, I've just decided to switch off my video. As indicated, the department tracks the national data through the Higher Education Management Information System. which allows for high-level cohort developments to be identified. There's a significant field of research that focuses on student success in higher education, particularly within institutions where researchers focus on the factors that lead to students drop out. There are also a significant number of specialized support units within institutions that provide institution-wide support to support teaching and learning innovations. We do not have this information as the department in terms of reasons. It's located in the institutions. What we are collecting thus far from 2016, 2017 is just the throughput rate and the dropout rates. In terms of the role of the department, we provide specialized funding, I need to say, through our University Capacity Development Grant to support student success initiatives and learning and teaching innovations, because we are of the view that it's not enough to merely have students getting NSFAS. It's also important to give institutions funding to actually have strong student support in order to improve the pass rate and the throughput rate. Thank you very much, Honorable House Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. The second follow-up question is from Honourable Duprain on the virtual platform. Honourable Duprain.
Thank you, Chair. Honourable Minister, your department has made it clear in the past that NSFAS is not a loan, but rather a grant. Now, Minister, in light of the large number of students receiving NSFAS that drops out without any financial implications, would you and your department consider a new approach where students that drop out be held liable for at least a certain percentage of the funds they receive, in order to firstly motivate the students to achieve their goals and finish their studies, and secondly, to put an end to the notion by some that NSFAS can be viewed as a paid holiday? Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Duprain. Honourable Minister.
Thank you very much, Honourable House Chair. I wish to say to Honourable Duprain that we have not taken a decision that students who drop out must actually be paying back the support that they've actually received. We've not taken such a decision. We are, however, at the moment, undertaking through a ministerial task team an extensive development of a comprehensive student funding model, which will also require some policy changes. Whether such policy changes in future may require that students who drop out or who fail must actually pay will be considered within that context. But so far, we have taken no such decision to do so. And also, Honourable Duprain is willing to propose that as a suggestion, as we are now in a process, have started the process, as I've announced in the media, to actually put forward the 18 recommendations from the Ministerial Task Team on Comprehensive Student Funding. If Honourable Duprain feels strongly about that matter, he's welcome to actually put that as a proposal as we develop these new sets of the funding regime. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. The third follow-up question is from Honourable Dlamini. Honourable Dlamini.
Thank you, House Chair. Minister, of the learners that dropped out, how many of those were results of late NSFAS payments? And has there been any assessment to check if the funds are sufficient to cover all costs needed, such as accommodation, study materials, and meals, seeing how the economy is already moving at a rapid pace for consumption of basic needs? Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Dlamini. Honourable Minister.
Thanks, Honourable House Chair. I think I've partly answered the question from Honourable Dlamini, that the information we are collecting is only so far on statistics as to, for instance, how many students who are receiving NSFAS have passed and how many have dropped out. As I have said, we have not started compiling the reasons for that. Some of the institutions are actually compiling the reasons. So I'm not in a position, therefore, to say that what are the different reasons for dropout, whether amongst those reasons is failure for NSFAS to actually pay on time. Yes, there are challenges in institutions for NSFAS sometimes not to be able to pay on time, but those are very few instances as opposed to generally the ability of NSFAS to both pay the institutions for tuition fees, pay for accommodation, as well as pay student allowances. Thank you very much, Honorable House Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. The fourth follow-up question is from Honorable Ocamp. Honorable Ocamp.
Thank you, House Chairperson. Honourable Minister, South Africa has, as you rightly know, one of the highest university dropout rates, with between 50 to 60% of first-year students not returning for a second year. These figures are increasing year on year, which is very alarming. What is your department doing to provide support to these students at higher institutions of learning to minimize this effect? And furthermore, are these students that do drop out, are they being tracked and supported to ensure that they do not become statistics of the NEET dilemma, N-E-E-T, not in education, not in employment or training? Can you please answer that? Thank you, Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Honourable Ocamp. Honourable Minister.
Thanks, Honourable Ocamp. Thanks to you, Honourable House Chair. I don't know where these figures that Honourable Ocamp is talking about. The averages that I've pointed out is that the dropout rate is at 32.4%, not half. Much as we are not happy that 32% is still high. And for NSFAS, the dropout is down at 20.8%. That is now tracking over a 10-year period since the year 2000. And that's the throughput rate for NSFAS is actually 71.3%. I have also already said that in addition to giving students NSFAS allowances, we are also giving institutions funding for student support. We've got a program, a comprehensive program, which we call University Capacity Development Program. We also have a program to work closely with our TVET colleges to make sure that we strengthen student support services. Amongst other things, by the way, higher health that the Deputy Minister was talking about also looks after the health and wellness of the students, which also usually is a contributory factor to dropouts, so that the money that government spends is not wasted by having high dropout rates. And all these measures are beginning to show that we are actually now making a big difference, as shown by the low rate of student dropout who are NSFAS beneficiaries, and we hope that also this will improve as time goes on. Thank you very much, Honourable House Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Members in the House are reminded that there is that organized tea outside. Honourable Minister, we now come to question 129 asked by Honourable Arnott. Honourable Minister.
Thank you very much, Honourable House Chair. I also hope those online also are invited to that coffee outside the house there. One employee was investigated on allegations of directly and or indirectly doing business with the state. One investigation has been concluded, and on question sub A2, there is none. And the case is at a disciplinary stage, and it is not yet finalized because the disciplinary inquiry under C is pending. That's the Department of Science and Innovation. In the Department of Higher Education and Training, yes, in the current financial year, the department has taken disciplinary actions for fraud and corruption against 10 officials in the department, 2 for fraud and corruption and 7 for fraud. Under A2, it's 1 for fraud. Under B, 8 has been dismissed and 3 months suspension without pay for 1 employee. On C, it's 30 days, 47 days, 49 days, 80 days, 83 days, 90 days, 149 days, 178 days, and 148 days. Please take note that the days referred to are working days. Thank you very much, Honourable House Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. First follow-up, Honourable Arnott.
Thank you, House Chairperson, and thank you to the Minister for the response on the question. Minister, the process of disciplinary management in the public service is often smeared with challenges and alarming concerns such as lengthy disciplinary cases, misuse of precautionary suspensions, salaries paid to officials while they sit at home, on prolonged suspensions and ineffective enforcement of consequence management. What positive preventative measures have been implemented in institutions of higher learning? Please provide details.
Thank you, Honorable Minister.
Thanks, Honorable House Chair, and thanks to Honorable Arnold. I want to say that the Department of Science and Innovation follow guidelines informed by the Disciplinary Code and Procedures of the Public Service, Resolution 1 of 2003, which deals mainly with discipline and does not make provision for investigative processes. However, what is important, what that I want to say, is that the adopted practice for investigation in public service as a whole is 60 days. And we've put mechanisms here to be able to call to account those who are unable to finish processes within 60 days. In the Department of Higher Education and Training, the resolution that also regulates discipline is not as explicit regarding the time frame for conducting the investigation. Nevertheless, I've also put in place similar measures that all investigations and disciplinary measures must be completed within 60 days, and that disciplinary hearings should be completed within 90 days. We try our best to enforce this within our departments because precisely with the same concern as Honorable Arnold, we share the same concern. You can't be having endless disciplinary processes. But sometimes the delays are due to due process. Employees are appealing and exercising their rights. That, unfortunately, sometimes is the price we pay for a democratic South Africa, which is not a banana republic. Thank you very much, Honorable House Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. The second follow-up question is from Honorable Okam. Honorable Okam.
Thank you, Honorable House Chair. Honorable Minister, at TVET colleges, the main types of corruption reported are procurement and employment irregularities, as well as abuse of authority. There have also been reports of theft of resources, bribery, and extortion with municipal officials, where college executives and administrators are most often implicated. Institutions are being destroyed by these challenges, and it appears that the higher education system has been captured. Seeing Honorable Minister Blade Nzimande, it appears that your blade has become blunt in the fight against corruption in your own department. You have failed to cut out corruption. You have failed the higher education sector as total collapse is imminent. Will you agree to step down amid this crisis and admit that your blade become blunt? Thank you.
Honorable Minister.
Honorable House Chair, thanks to the Honorable Member, despite a very uncomplimentary follow-up. I don't expect that from the opposition in any case. I just want to dispute and dismiss what he is saying, that I do not follow up disciplinary matters. Where there are disciplinary issues, cases of corruption, fraud, and so on, I always make sure that we actually do take action. Now, it's not very helpful for the Honorable Member just to posture here in an oppositionist fashion and say, I don't take steps. I challenge you, Honorable Member, come with concrete evidence and said, there is such and such a case which was brought to my attention or reported and nothing was done about it. Then we can talk rather than this posturing by the opposition. So why should I step down just because of oppositionist posturing in the House? If you have got evidence, bring it to my attention and say, here you didn't act, Minister, here you didn't act. As far as I'm concerned, I have actually acted. And I've made sure that the Director General of the department is able to oversee that where action needs to be taken does actually get taken in terms of the law and in terms of the procedures, as I have spoken about some of them. Thank you very much, Honorable House Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. The third follow-up question is from Honorable Hatebe. Honorable Pungan.
Thank you, Honorable House Chair. Honorable Minister, I would wish to ask whether the Minister is able to provide an update on employees who have been found conducting fraudulent activities, whether the Minister is able to provide details on how the department will try and retrieve a share of the monies lost through fraud and corruption, and further, if the department has sought to reinvest the department through the retirement fund of the individuals. Thank you, House Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Hatebe. Honorable Minister.
Honorable House Chair, I would really request Upumani to submit this as the written question that I can actually answer, because this is actually new. That's not what I was asked about as the original question on in specific instances of fraud. The latest that I have actually taken action on is actually on the National Skills Fund, which I have now reported the matter to the Hawks, and we've also opened cases, and we've also started charging staff inside the department who are actually implicated in this. Now, if then Honorable Pungane wants to have detailed information, can you please ask this question specifically as a written question? Thank you very much, Honorable House Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. The Honorable Minister is correct. Let me also remind members that the follow-up question should always be linked to the original question. The fourth follow-up question is from Honorable Gillion. Honorable Gillion.
Thank you, House Chairperson, and thank you, Minister, for your responses to the questions. Minister, mine is very simple, and I think you did give an indication on this question. My follow-up is just about your standard turnaround time for investigation, processing, and finalization of disciplinary cases in the department. And also to say, Minister, the ANC still do have confidence in your leadership in this department, and we don't support this step down from the opposition. Thank you, House Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Gillion. Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable House Chair, and let me thank Honorable Gillion, and also for the complimentary remarks, which indeed are true, that as the ANC, we are committed to fighting corruption. And in my department, I don't take anything that doesn't deal with that. As Honorable Gillion had said, I had already hinted on some of this to say that I have given an instruction to my department that all disciplinary processes and investigations for misconduct must be done within 60 days as per the procedures followed in the public service. And that the disciplinary hearings themselves must be completed within 90 days. As I have said, disciplinary hearings, however, may take longer than 90 days to conclude in some cases. And the following factors contributed to the time limit being exceeded: the provision of medical certificates, the absence of trade union representatives, and the delay by the presiding officers in issuing either findings or outcome reports due to other commitments in their areas of responsibility. As there are no full-time officials appointed to preside over disciplinary cases, we normally rely on outside people who act as chairpersons or conveners of such disciplinary processes. But on our part and on my part, the rules are very clear: 60 days for investigation and 90 days to complete disciplinary processes. Thank you very much, Honorable Gillion and Honorable House Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. We now come to question 122, asked by Honorable Christian. Honorable DM.
Thank you, House Chairperson. The following interactions with the councils of the three institutions and the outcomes thereof, the following has occurred. Firstly, that at the Central University of Technology, the Minister has appointed an independent assessor, Professor Norman Duncan, according to the reference as outlined in the Government Gazette 47281, dated 10 October 2022. The terms of reference focused on a range of issues relating to governance and management concerns at the institution. And then again, in terms of UNISA, the Minister has appointed Professor Temba Musia as the independent assessor, according to Government Gazette number 46904, which was published on the 13th of September 2022. And the terms of reference were also duly gazetted, and they relate to a range of serious allegations relating to governance and management challenges at the university. The same applies with the Mangosuthu University of Technology, where the Minister has appointed Professor Lawrence van Staden as the administrator, taking over the role of the University Council for a period of up to 24 months. And the terms of reference are also outlined in the Government Gazette 47280, which was made public on the 10th of October 2022. Thank you, House Chair.
Thank you, Honorable TM. First follow-up question is from Honorable Christian. Honorable Christian.
Thank you, House Chairperson. Deputy Minister, in a media release this year from the Minister in June, he expressed dismay and concern about continuing instability in post-school education institutions. Now, maladministration and instability in higher education institutions are on the rise. A recent study also showed that the most pressing issues were poor leadership and management skills and challenges facing lecturers in various aspects of teaching and learning, amongst which were blatant shortcomings in their capabilities to meet the competencies required for effective learning. How is higher education ensuring that qualified management is appointed at institutions of higher learning and that adequate resources and training are available to lecturing and managing staff to improve overall management of institutions? Thank you, House Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Christian. Honorable Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much. I think as we have indicated that the major challenges are at the three institutions that has been outlined, and to indicate that we remain committed, department and the ministry, to ensure that we attend to whatever issues or crises that may emerge at institutions of higher learning. And we're quite excited that there's general stability in most of our institutions, and that in instances where there are cases that are reported to either the department or in the media, or if the minister believes that there are instances where there is necessity for intervention, such intervention will be made. It remains our responsibility to ensure that all our institutions in the post-school education and training sector remain stable and do provide learning and teaching to all South Africans, and that the governance of those institutions remain competent, and that intervention, where necessary, has been made. Thank you, House Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable TM. The second follow-up question is from Honorable De Bruin. Honorable De Bruin.
Thank you, House Chair. My question has been covered by Honorable Christians. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable De Bruin. The third follow-up question is from Honorable Ndongeni. Honorable Ndongeni.
Thank you, House Chairperson. Honorable Deputy Minister, how many institutions of higher learning are currently under investigation by the department for serious allegations of maladministration and poor governance? And what are the relevant details in each case? Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Dongeni. Honorable TM.
Thank you, Honorable Member. There are three, as indicated, institutions that interventions have been made, and I have indicated what the reasons are and what those institutions are, which is CUT, MUT, and also UNISA. And outside of these, there's no other investigations taking place in any of the institutions that may have been necessitated by a directive either from the minister or from the department. We monitor all institutions for governance challenges, and we also consider information that is being brought by the public or that we may be aware of, and that through the formal reporting of public institutions on an annual basis and council assessment, the minister is also guided by the Higher Education Act, which in terms of when and under what circumstances the interventions can be made. So it's only those three institutions, and based on the points that I've made in the initial response that we've given, and I think further information can obviously be sought in the different government gazettes that I've mentioned.
Thank you, Honorable TM. The fourth follow-up question is from Honorable Arnott. Honorable Arnott.
Thank you, House Chairperson. Deputy Minister, the task team report paints a picture of pervasive incompetency, a culture of non-compliance, a lack of consequence management, management failures, financial mismanagement, and the implementation of the report recommendation needs urgent attention. So by when are we going to see, you have mentioned the appointments, so by when can we see stability in these institutions, which is very important also in terms of the students that is also going to be affected by the institutions. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable TM.
Thank you, House Chairperson and Honorable Member. And I think as specified, the terms either of the assessor or that of the administrator, which is in the case of Mangosuthu University of Technology, are clearly stipulated, and on a continuous basis, the assessors and all administrators provide the report to the minister and department so that we're able to monitor the progress that has been made in terms of creating stability in those institutions. And I think we can confidently say that with the introduction of assessors stroke administrator in these institutions, we have seen some relative stability in these institutions, and we will continue to monitor what is happening in those institutions. And if there's a need for any form of further intervention, this will be done. Thank you, House Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable TM. Honorable TM and Honorable Minister, we now come to question 115. I'll be guided by your good self, who will be taking the question 115.
I'll be taking that question, Honorable House Chairperson. The forensic investigation firm completed the investigation where in different categories of findings were made. Some are grave in the sense that they recommend further criminal investigation. Some require disciplinary measures against internal officials in the National Skills Fund. The minister has forwarded the report as is, as received from the forensic investigators to SCOPA, and the department is in the process of submitting the report to the portfolio committee on higher education, science, and innovation. And I must add, House Chair, that certain measures have been put into place to put the recommendations of the report in motion. Thank you, House Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable DM. The first follow-up question is from Honorable Nchabeleng. Honorable Nchabeleng.
Thank you, Honorable House Chair. According to the assessment of the department, has any confidential report regarding the investigations into the National Skills Fund been leaked to the media or external interested parties? And if it's so indeed, what measures is the ministry putting in place or a plan to mitigate against such leakages recurring? Thank you, and thank you for the elaborate answers, DM, to the question.
Thank you.
Honorable DM.
Thank you, Honorable Member, and also House Chair. There is evidence that the confidential report that was submitted to SCOPA was leaked to the media. I mean, for instance, the article by Mzilikazi Africa states that a member of parliament who has leaked the report to the Sunday Independent and asked to remain anonymous said Nzimande was trying to keep the report confidential to protect certain individuals, close quote. And so it's important that we point this out, that the report was shared following the request by the SCOPA and was leaked after it was submitted to SCOPA. The minister intended to safeguard the report until all internal due processes in implementing the recommendations of the investigation report were concluded. But above assertion was not considered, and the minister's insistence on the confidentiality of the report during the SCOPA meeting was part of the mitigation measures against the leak. Following the leak, the minister on the 9th of October issued a media statement outrightly dismissing insinuations contained in Africa's article, since there is nothing to hide. The assertion about confidentiality of the report was solely intended to ensure that due processes are being followed in this regard. Thank you so much, House Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable TM. The second follow-up question is from Honorable Matevula. Honorable Matevula.
Nakensa, House Chair, Deputy Minister, what challenges has the minister faced since the establishment of skills funds? Please provide details of corruption elements faced and measures taken to combat such. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Matevula. Honorable DM.
Yeah, well, there are no details that I have in hand in that regard. All that we, were asked to furnish the NCOP with is, as it relates to this particular investigation into the National Skills Fund. And so outside of that, there has not been or cannot be any other incident that relates to allegations of corruption or maladministration, and that these cases, this actual case that that arises from this question, are themselves being attended to. So, to my knowledge, there's not been any incident that relates to the member's question relating to the NSF corruption outside of this particular case, and and that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable DM. The third follow-up question is from Honorable Hatebe. Honorable Hatebe.
Thank you, Honorable House Chair. The question is, it is reported that the National Skills Fund is responsible for 1.3 billion in wasteful expenditure. Whether the minister is able to provide details on the steps being taken to trace and retrieve a share of this money, and what steps towards consequence management are being taken against officials at the entity? If not, why not? If so, please provide details. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank
I think
you.
as I indicated, House Chair, that we that the recommendations of this report are being implemented. We're going to ensure that those officials at the National Skills Fund, but also any other party that is mentioned in the report, if they fail to provide reasonable explanation in terms of what's to be done, and that action will be taken. So there's no intention in any way to try and hide either the report or to shield certain individuals, or to ensure that people who may have committed crimes against the state basically gets away with that. And I think in terms of recouping monies that may have been lost in the process, the necessary legislations and policies will guide us throughout this process.
Thank you, Honorable DM. The fourth follow-up question is from Honorable Baha. Honorable Baha.
Thank you, House Chairperson. Siyayivala ngoku. DM, the minister recently was chastised by SCOPA Chairperson for trying to hide the report showing gross misconduct and mismanagement of funds, which was almost 5 billion not accounted for in the past 2 financial years. How many of those implicated were charged, and at what point would the process be done and dealt with, and we see the outcome, and what is the future relevance of the National Skills Fund? Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Baha. Honorable DM.
Let me start with the last question. The last part of the question. The minister has appointed a ministerial task team on the review of the National Skills Fund. And that task team has made various recommendations in terms of what needs to happen as it relates to the National Skills Fund, so that we avoid some of the issues that has emanated relating to alleged financial mismanagement or any other form of maladministration. But the gist of it, obviously, has been to really review the structures, the governance, the bureaucratic arrangements, well, not the mandate, but the manner in which the National Skills Fund has been executing its mandate, and that commitment has been made to ensure that we look positively at the recommendations that came out of the ministerial task team, and ensure that those recommendations have an impact on the way in which the NSF will be functioning into the future. So that's the one part. The second part is that there has not been any intention, either on the part of the minister or on the part of the department, to hide the report. The reason why we requested SCOPA to exercise confidentiality as it relates to the report was that the report was handed to the minister and the department raw as it was, which required certain processes to be followed in order for certain individuals who were mentioned in the report, not to obviously learn about the allegations against them in the media and all of that, but also to protect the process in such a way that if due process or undue process should not be used as a defense, by those who have been pointed by the report as as having had committed, whatever allegations that were leveled against them. So there's no intention to hide the report. There's no intention to, defend any individuals. And as I said, that the processes in terms of consequence management and all of that are already being followed or have already been initiated by the department, and that we will continuously inform, Parliament and everyone who has an interest in this matter in terms of how this whole case is going to be unfolding. At the end of the day, without any fear or favor, without trying to sweep things under the carpet, everyone who's been implicated by the report ultimately will have to and will ultimately face the music.
Thank you, Honorable DM. Honorable members, the question asked by Honorable Christian, it has been brought to my attention that Rule 231 won't kick in because it was properly attended to, and the written reply was sent to the affected member. Honorable delegates, I would like to.
On a point of order. Chairperson, on a point of order, Rule 231, if I may read it, says, if the responsible cabinet member has not replied in writing to a question within 10 working days of the day for which the question was set down for written reply, and the delegate in whose name the question stands so requests, the secretary must place the question on the question paper for oral reply. Now that the question that we're talking about now, the answer came this afternoon, half an hour before the plenary. It cannot be withdrawn because there's no rule in this book that gives the secretary the right to overrule the rule, because the question was already on the paper and it has been a question that's been replied on the day of the plenary. So, if we're going to start a precedent now for ministers to wait until the day that the question is in the House, we are really on the wrong way.
Honorable Labuskakne, I understand the rule very well, and as we have read it, is the correct rule, and that's what I know. But as a presiding officer, I'm bringing to the House that it has been brought to my attention about what happened. If ever there's anything wrong in terms of the number of dates, I think that can be attended to properly, but it can be that I'm just doing it just for the sake of avoiding it. I'll always respect the rule of the House, and that is why I am saying, if there's anything in terms of the procedure that is not done properly, we have to have a way of how we're going to deal with situations of this nature. I totally agree with you. Allow me, honorable delegates, I would like to thank Minister, Honorable Dr. Nzimande, Deputy Minister, Honorable Manamela, permanent delegates, special delegates, SALGA representatives, for availing themselves for this sitting to answer questions in the National Council of Provinces. Honorable delegates, that concludes the business of the day. The House is adjourned. Thank you very much.
Thank you, my boy.
Papa.
Democratic engagements, including democratic.
Kubile mama. Kubile mama.
Ikubile sana.